In this movie, we're going to do a really interesting project of importing a 3D mesh spoon and creating a relief with it and cutting out both sides of the part to create a complete 3D object. And as the case with many 3D objects these days, we're going to start off with a mesh STL file. And here we have the spoon STL. Now this is coming in, first of all, it's two separate parts, so we're going to group this together so that when we select it, it'll select as one part. And this is kind of big. It was created in millimeters. I'm going to hit the F2 button for the Precision Input Center, and we're going to scale this down by 25.4, so we're doing 1 divided by 25.4, hit the tab key, and this will proportionally scale it. And we see that our final size here is 3.0524 by almost 13, length 13.3, and a height of 2.6. Now let's just go ahead and just make this a 3-inch spoon and hit Control R to redraw. Now I'm going to take a look at this from the side view, and I can see here from this graphic that it's way down below the plate. So using Precision Input Center as well, we're going to move it so that the bottom handle here in the right hand view is going to move up to the 0 position. So then we're going to see it right here. Now let's go to the top view and zoom into the selected object. And something I like to do sometimes is just to make my plate relative to the size of the part that I'm working on. So just set plate to selection there. Now I've got my spoon, my 3D spoon, in the right place, and I'm going to do this in two different sides. The first step is going to be to get an outline of the spoon shape here, and so I'm actually going to come up here to the solutions menu and bring up the little block solution. This will allow me to create a rectangular selection block around a selected object, and I can specify a particular offset value. And I'm going to close out of there, but now I have a shape that's just a little bit bigger than my spoon. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to create a flat relief, no height, and we're going to make it 150 dpi to give it a little higher resolution so that we can accommodate the surface and all the changes in the steep vertical sides there. So we're going to hit apply here. Now we've just created this flat 3D relief, and that becomes our 3D relief we're going to work with. I'm going to hit apply mesh to relief, add, faceted, and apply. And then what I'll see is kind of both of these objects taking the same space, and you can see a little combination of the colors there. And if I turn off all layers and turn them on, I can see that we have a view of this part. So that gives me the relief that we're going to cut out. But actually I kind of want to just have an outline of this shape. So I'm going to come here to the surface menu, say extract slice, tell it I want to use this relief, and I'm going to do one slice here and hit my green check mark. So what that did is that created a shape that is the outline of the actual part. And now I'll come here and I can delete this outer relief if I want, or just delete the relief itself and leave the shape. But this now gives me an outline of the part. Now I'm going to come here and I'm going to do an outline of this relief. So we're going to say outline, let's put in a 1/2 inch. And so that gives me kind of a 1/2 inch border around the edge of the part here. And I'm going to hit apply. And I could have made that a little bit more, a little bit less, it just depends upon how much area I want to have around the outer edge here to clear away. And now I'm going to take this outer border here, and let's maybe give that a 1/2 inch as well. All right, so this kind of represents my material that I'm going to be cutting out of, and the spoon itself. So I'm going to turn on everything here. I'm going to hit Control 1 to move that from the outer edge to the lower left-hand corner of the plate here, and then I'm going to say fit plate to selection. Just something I like to do to make everything fit within a defined plate area. And I could have had sharp corners here on this shape. I chose a rounded offset, but if you want sharp corners, that's fine too. I don't know that we're actually going to cut that part of it out, but it's possible that we could. In any event, that's easy enough to change. So we have our relief we have the offset area here to the outside. The next step is we want to create the bridges that we're going to use to hold this in place. And I'm going to turn off all layers here and then go to just the layer with the 3D shape. Now there's all kinds of ways you could create these bridges, but one nice handy way would be to come here, and then we can go here to see all 4 views again. And we're going to create a primitive object, which is just going to be a basic shape. And I'm going to come here and do a box. And I'm going to not worry too much about the slices because this is going to be a fairly simple shape to define. But I'm going to make my X size, let's say 2.5, my Y size. Oh, actually, let's do that one again. Let's do 1/2 inch for the width of the part, 2.5 for the length, and then height. This would be the actual thickness of the tab itself. So, you know, if you want a thicker tab, we would put in a thicker value here. I'm going to put in a little bit thinner one because I want to get the good definition of the spoon itself. But that would change based upon the need, material, and maybe some other factors. All right, so we're going to say create here. And before I do that, I want to go ahead and make the bottom size the same, 0.5 and 2.5. All right, now I'm going to hit create, and I see I've created a little thin shape here. Now, if I wanted to have a wider relief or a wider tab, I could just come and drag this out. I mean, I can basically drag the tab now to be whatever size, shape, or thickness I want. And I can still change that again later too. At the end of the job though, this is going to be how much material is left in keeping the part attached to the outer surrounding area. All right, now I'm going to come here and I'm going to move this tab right to where I want one of my tab places to be. And I'll go ahead and center this in the material as well by hitting my shift key. And since this is just a 2D, since this is just a little box shape, it's quite easy for me to manipulate the sides here and get them to extend a little bit beyond the edge, which is ultimately what I want to have happen. Now I'm going to hit my control key and I'm going to drag this to another spot within the part where I might want to have a tab, and I'm going to hit the control key one more time and bring it down here to the end. So you could have as many tabs as you want here, and you can see now from the side view, this is going to represent the tabs themselves, and I can come and place them now along the part. If I zoom to selection here, that's going to zoom in a little bit and I can see my tab. If I want to go to the rotate tool, I can click on one end here, click on the other end here, and just kind of adjust my position so that I can have the tab actually facing the same orientation, or it could be a vertical orientation. Either way, you're just kind of positioning the part here and putting it where you want it. All right, let's go back to the view, the whole part now. Let's go here to the side view, and I'm holding my shift key down to keep it from moving much in the X or Y. Then I'll use my zoom to zoom in on it here, back out a little, and once again we're going to click the two sides here and then try and just align it so I think it's going to look good relative to the angle of the part there. And we can, again, position that wherever you want, and realizing that's what's going to be keeping it attached to the material. So now back to the top view. We can see here's our tabs. And we see this one tab kind of goes through the middle of the spoon, so we're going to have to address that in a minute as well, but that's easy enough to take care of. All right, now we'll go back to our original part here, and actually, if I want, I'll actually take these two parts, and I'm going to assume we're using a 3-inch material here, since this is a 3-inch spoon, and I'm going to create a relief that's 3 inches in height, and we're going to say still 150 DPI. All right, and when I look at this, we can see now that the spoon, where it is relative to the existing relief. Now we're going to come here to these parts, and I've positioned them where I want them. So I'm going to select each of these, go back to that block tool, and just tell it to create a block without any offset. Now I'll select all 3 of these. I'm going to go to the Create Relief tab and make now a flat, no thickness relief right where those 3 shapes were. Now I'll again select the three shapes. And you can see that you have both the relief and the 3D mesh selected that represents the tabs. And we're going to say apply mesh to relief. Just apply and then close. And now I've got my three reliefs here. All right, let's just come here and move these a little bit up out of the way. So I'm going to change that from a 3 to a 10 just for a second. And now I can, oops, I resized that. I'm just going to move these meshes here for a second. So we'll hit Control X. Let's just do that and get them out of the way. And I'm going to create a new layer here, a couple more layers, just so I can have a place to park these. So I can go back to those in a minute if I need them, although I don't believe I'll need them again. I will, because when I flip this part, I'm going to include those. So let's take these three things now, and we're going to move these into the layer number 1. Now I can see them incorporated here. And for 2 of these, it's quite easy. I'm just going to select this outer relief and then this inner part, and I'm going to go here and go to the surface menu and say combine reliefs, and that will just put them together, make them part of one overall relief. All right, now for this one we have a little bit of work to do yet, so we're going to come here and we need to draw a shape. So I'm going to come here and just go to my polyline tool, zoom in here just a little bit, and make a little shape like that. Let's turn this off so we can see the shape. And we're going to just give it a little bit of a curve here. And let's select it and view this and just make sure we like where it looks. All right, so that's going to create just the kind of a part we need. Now I'm going to take that little shape, and I have a center line here, a midpoint I can use as a snap. So I'm going to go to midpoint snap, and I'm going to use my mirror tool, mirror by line, and make a copy. And we're just going to create the same line on the opposite side of the spoon. So I've got both of those where I need them. All right, now we're going to take this shape and take each of these little spoon parts, and we're going to hit Control X. Actually, we're going to hit Control C, not Control X. We're going to move them into a blank layer. Now we're going to move that relief so we have just the 2D shape. We're going to use the jigsaw tool to create 2 new shapes. That'll create a new shape out of any overlapping areas. And now we've got a nice relief that's just the size we need. We're going to put a flat, no thickness relief on there. Now let's go back here and grab this one. We're going to hit Control X. And we'll leave those in case we need them again later. And can paste this into the active layer. Now we'll go here and go to the merge reliefs, and it says select the base relief, which is this one. Select the relief I want to merge, which is this one. And I'm just going to do a merge highest or add. Either one would work. I'm going to do that one more time. Base relief. Relief I want to merge to the base relief, and hit my check mark. Now what I should have done is transferred that original surface to these just little segments, which now aren't going to go across the middle of the spoon, which was a problem before. So we're going to cut these out. Paste these to the active layer now, and select both of these, and again go to the combine. Merge is when you want to add one relief to the other. Combine is when you actually kind of want to weld them together. So now we have our 3-inch thick spoon relief, which has been attached via some tabs to an outer material. And we have some areas here we can use to clear away and help to do some material clearance. All right, so this is all side one now of the relief. and we're going to need to create side 2, and then we're going to toolpath them. Well, actually, maybe what I'll do is create side 2 first. And one of the things about flipping this part is we need to make sure that there's some way that we're able to flip the part and make sure on side 2 that it's exactly where it lines up with side 1. We can do that by cutting a couple of, say, 1/4-inch dowel holes a certain distance from the edge of the part, and just make sure that when we flip it, that we go right back into that same dowel hole position. That's one easy way to do it. Or you could cut the shape out or have a fixture. There's lots of ways that can be done, but that's an important part of the process. So that's something we might consider right at the end, just putting a couple of circles right 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch in from the edge, right in the middle, and then we'll use that as a registration when we flip the part. All right, so let's go ahead and finish the toolpathing on this side, and then we'll create side 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to need to create a mask, because we don't want to toolpath this whole part. We just want to create the spoon. So I'm going to do a Control-C here. I'm going to go to a blank layer, paste everything to the blank layer. All right, I'm going to delete my relief. And now I just want to decide where exactly I want to cut this off. Now it looks like there's something to this one I'm missing. Oh, I have not yet added the spoon to the relief. So that's part of what I was seeing there. So I'm going to come here, and I'm actually going to hit a Control-C here to the spoon. I'm going to paste it here for a minute because I need that shape for when I create side 2. All right, now I'm going to take the spoon in the base relief. I'm going to go ahead and surface combine those together as well. So this needs to be basically one big continuous part. And these are just 2D shapes that I created, and I'll put those in another layer for now. Okay, so there's my relief I'm actually going to cut, and that's all now merged together in one single part. And I'm going to make a copy of this one. And we're going to paste this to the active layer with the right-click menu. And we can remove this now and get this out of there. Now what I want to do is create, really all I want to cut as a 3D part is I want to cut these internal components. So I'm going to come here first of all and just do a cut by line. Or there's a number of ways I can do this. All right, let's come here and let's draw some. I'm going to turn off my snaps and draw some 2D shapes here. Kind of going closer to the spoon than to the other edge. Now I can go to the point edit mode and be around a few of these and put a little radius on there to match the relief itself. This part was straight. And we need to do one more here. All right, so now we have this part. I can come here, go to that jigsaw tool again, and just create a new shape. We can get rid of these little end parts. All right, and we're going to hit Control X, and now we can see we've left behind this particular shape, which I'm going to use as well. But let's go back to the main relief on layer 1, and now we're going to use this particular shape to mask where the toolpath applies. Before we actually use that mask, though, we actually have to come here and make sure that the relief is in the material. So I have a 3-inch material here, and what I'm going to do is make sure that I move my material to the bottom of the plate. So that's going to put the relief here more into the plate, and the toolpath will now go down from there. So again, I'm going to select this toolpath mask and the relief with the relief placed into the material. And I'm going to go here to the island fill, and I've got a few options here. Now, if I had a pre-existing toolpath, I could use it, but I'm going to create this one from scratch, and then I could save it and reuse it whenever I needed to. So I'm going to come here, and the first thing I need to do is clear out some of this material. There's going to be a lot of material on top of this part, and so I'm going to come here, and I'm going to choose an end mill tool. So I'm going to go to my tools, and I can sort by color, or say I want to see end mills. And let's go down and grab a 1/4 inch end mill. And so I have one that can reach a long distance here, because I'm going to need to be able to reach all the way down to this, 3 inches almost in one pass. So if need be, so you need an extended length tool here for this kind of a job. All right, now we're going to say we want to go ahead and apply the overcut, which allows the tool to exceed the masking boundary that it's being used to create it. We're going to offset this from the surface so we don't actually cut down to our detail area. And we're going to do this one as a step rough, which means all 2D cuts. We're going to specify how many passes we want. And first we have to specify, we're going to specify how many passes we want. And we can first of all have a depth here. We have to have our final depth set to, let's say, 2.25. And once we have the final depth set, then we can come down here and specify the number of passes. And we can see, we could specify by the actual amount we're cutting, or we can just say, I want this many passes, and the corresponding amount will appear. So we could either do these as 0.28, or you could specify the amount, and the amount of passes will appear. I'm going to say 8 passes. All right, and we're going to put in a feed rate here. You can always slow this down at the machine, so I usually want to go fast enough that it can be as fast as I want it to be, and then slow it down as needed at the controller. And we'll hit OK here. Now we want to do another rough pass that's actually going to kind of make the surface itself. So in this case, it's going to be a ball nose tool. And I'm going to use a 1/4 inch ball for this job as well. Just have one 1/4 inch ball there. And this one I'm going to go down 2.5. All right, so that's going to get most of the way down here, and maybe even 2.6, go just a little bit deeper. This one's also going to offset from the surface, just a small amount here, so I'm leaving a little bit for the smooth toolpath. 50% offset is fine. In one pass, I don't want to ever do my surface rough, but more than one pass. And we'll go ahead and put 250 again for the feed rate. So these are going to be the rough tools, and I'm going to allow them to go 0.125 past the edge of the part. We'll hit OK here, and we should see the toolpath give us a number of 2D toolpaths and one that follows the surface. And that is what we end up seeing here. So that's what we would want to see. And you can see where the bridges are, preventing it from getting too deep there in the material. Okay, now another toolpath I'm going to do here to do a little clear out. And I'm going to take this toolpath, these shapes. I'm going to hit Control C here. Paste this to the active layer. And now we're going to do a little island fill with this. And we'll tell it to go down to 2.5 maybe. And this would be optional. I'm not sure if this would be required or not, but I'd kind of like to just clear out some of that material around the outer edge. Let's make sure we're not going too fast. And the number of passes, again, I'm not sure how many we'd want to do in this material, but let's just say we're going to take 7 on that. So this is just a 2D toolpath to clear out some of that other edge material. That may or may not be necessary. All right, now the final toolpath we want to do, we want to get back there again and select this particular shape, and then the relief. So that's the masking toolpath and the relief itself. We need to do one more toolpath here. We need to use our ball nose tool. And this time we're going to go down 2.8 inches. This is going to be the detailed cut. Maybe go 0.06 past the edge. One pass. This is going to be at 90% overlap. One pass, and again 250, 100, 18,000. All right, so we're going to hit OK here, and we're going to hit OK. All right, so there's our more detailed toolpath that's going to create the 3D relief itself. All right, so here's our toolpath. If we want to take a look at the simulation, we can do that. Okay, and one of the reasons why I kind of use some of those depths is so I could come here and use pass as the highest priority, and that should help. We have 1/4 inch ball, 1/4 inch end mill, 1/4 inch long. So, probably I could have just used one tool for the 1/4 inch stuff, but we will make sure that the 1/4 inch end mill and the 1/4 inch long are above the other tool there. And then we'll make tool also a priority. So let's update the order now. And we're going to go to our first tool change and see that it's just going to do some 2D cutting and remove to whatever depth we want it to and give us our 3D shape there. And it's possible you don't want to do that. That's just something I kind of thought would help at least to visualize this. But it's possible that you would want to leave that material there to provide rigidity. All right, now we're going to go to the next tool change, and this is going to do a series of passes there that are going to rough out the basic shape of the spoon. Now we're going to do some rough passes here. And basically that's going to finish off the rest of the surface and giving you a smooth surface there. I might have done a little too much starting and stopping, so let's just let it run through the whole process. All right, so that's a look what the finished spoon would look like with the bridges holding it in place, and that's side one of the parts. And you can see here that gives us a pretty good idea of what things are going to look like when the job is completed. All right, now we need to do side two. And actually, before we do that, I mean, we can come here now. Let's say we wanted to draw a circle. Let's do a 1/4 inch circle, so 0.125 radius, and I'm just going to place it on screen. This one I'm going to hit Control 8 from the number pad, and this one I'll hit Control 2 from the number pad. That places them both in the middle of the screen. And actually it doesn't really matter where I place these exactly. But put this one here. I'm going to hit F2 now. And let's maybe move the center in 0.5 inches away from the edge. So that gives us a nice distance away from the edge of the part. Now I'm going to come here and do that same process of a mirror by line and select the center point there of the shape right in the middle. Now we have created a dowel hole I can use and create a little hole here that cuts all the way through the material and a little bit into the spoil board. And then a 1/4-inch peg can be used to help locate this part as I flip it from side 1 to side 2. So that's something you might want to do to grab each of these. Let's do a little 1/4-inch drill. And we're going to go down 3 inches, which is quite deep. So we're going to want a number of passes here. And do a little bit of a peck lift so that it'll retract a little bit before going down each time to the next pass. But you know, this is something, if you have a downward tool here, you want to be careful. You probably want to use a tool that will evacuate the chips rather than to force them downward if you're cutting this out of a wood material. All right, but there we've got a number of holes, and because of the depth of this one, you know, we did it in a few passes to get all the way through to the bottom. And we actually, as we said, probably wanted to go here. Set up this tool path and go down just a little bit deeper so that you can place the dowel into the hole. And you can make your hole just a little bit bigger than that if you wanted to as well. That's just an example of a way to register the part, so you know when you flip the sides, side 1 and side 2 will match up. So this has been the completion of side 1 and the tool pathing for side 1. Now we're going to do side 2. So for side 2, we need to go to our mesh, and of course we want to get our these parts as well. So we have layer 4 as well as the imported layer we want to mirror. All right, so we have these parts. We're going to come here and let's take this and let's get rid of that relief that's in there, because I just want the 2D shape. Now we're going to take all these parts and we're going to hit F2 and we're going to go to rotate along the x-axis 180 degrees. We'll hit OK. Right, so now we've got our parts here, and let's select all this and move it back down to 0. So we're going to say the top of this is going to go here to 0. All right, and we're going to take this 2D shape and we'll move this one back down to 0. So we've got everything where we wanted it. I think there might be some shapes here we also want to bring back to 0. These were those little 2D contours that help to create the tabs for the spoon part. All right, so that's not going to be really as much of an issue on this one. So those last 2 little shapes we had, we can just get rid of those, because the spoon is not going to be a dish this time where the bridge goes. So we've got our shapes here and we've got our relief. We already have that part done. So we can select this, and we'll go ahead and do that 1/2 inch offset now, 0.5 offset. All right, and now we'll select our spoon shape. Now it's going to have that 2D shape in there, so we're going to come in here and do a flat, no thickness relief, 150 DPI. And we're going to hold the shift key down to select the mesh, hit apply mesh, add apply. Now we've got our spoon relief. We still do need the outer shape here of the relief. So let's just borrow this for a second. I'm going to grab this outer part of the relief, Control C. I'm just doing this to get a hold of this internal or this external line. Okay, so there's our outer part of the relief this time, and we're going to make it 3-inch tall flat relief for the outer part. Now we need to take these 3 parts, these 3 tabs, and we're going to go to the block tool, hit create, select the 3 tabs, and create a flat, no thickness relief. Now we'll take those 3 tabs, hit apply mesh to relief, and I'm going to cut those. Let's paste those back to where they're all together there. Now we have side 2 nearly complete. We've got oh, this relief was at the bottom of the plate, so let's come here and move that so it's on the top of the plate. All right, and here's the other side here, and you see that these are exactly the same bridges that were kept in the same spot. So now we can select these 3 and say transform, combine reliefs, and we will take this internal shape and do one more surface combine reliefs. Now we've created side 2 of this part using the same bridges and the same overall part of the relief. We can move this now into the plate. All right, we need to have a copy of the 2D contours again. We're going to use to create a mask, so we're going to hit Control C here, paste this to the active layer. We're going to get rid of our relief. Let's move all this back up to 0. All right, now we'll come here and draw those little lines. I'm going to turn off the snaps here. I want them a little closer to the front part. All right, and we'll do just a little bit of point editing to get a curve there. All right, so we've got our shape here. We can come here and use the jigsaw tool, create that masking contour. Now I don't need those little parts anymore. I can grab my mask, select the relief and the mask, and now we have basically the same toolpaths to apply that we applied previously. So we can first of all go here and select this one, and this is going to be the ball nose one. We want the one with these 2. So I just came here to look at it for a second. Now I'm going to go here, go back to that one I just looked at, and I should have edited it. But here, we'll go ahead and add this one while we can. Here's the 1-inch ball going down to 2.8, and we're going to hit apply. Zoom in here, edit this toolpath. Now I can hit save as. I'm going to call this spoon rough. If I want to make it easy for myself, then I can just name it something and make it a toolpath I can reuse over and over as much as I want. So now I'll come here and I'll say, put the spoon rough toolpath on there, and it'll remember that toolpath just from saving it and making it easier to apply again. All right. And now I don't really need to do, if I wanted to, there's probably a ½ inch of this inner part left. So I can come here and grab this. This was side 2, and I'm going to do that island fill. But this time we're just going to go down 0.5, probably. Should be enough. Maybe 0.75. And let's use that long tool for everything. So I'm going to use this as the 1/4 long. All right, so there we've got the part that does the final clear out. And so there's side 2. And I would flip the part, the holes would already be there, the dowel holes would be there, and then it would just be a matter of, once again, doing the simulation. I'm going to say pass is the highest priority. So it's going to do some 2D roughing and follow the shape. And you would have the end of the job would be pretty much through cut, except for where these tabs are holding the part in place, and you would have the 3D spoon cut on both sides. So this is how you do a complete 3D project, including designing and cutting both sides, tool pathing both sides, and creating some dowel holes that you can use to rotate the part.